Hello everyone, Chaos here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. Today, my revamped 1 to 99 melee guide. The melee combat style makes use of attack and strength for you to equip higher level weapons, and the defense to be able to wear armor with more defensive capabilities. You'll fight your enemies in close proximity with a huge variety of items. Just like range, the melee will be leveled up almost exclusively by dealing damage to enemies, as we have barely any options that offer experience per hour through skilling. This one may be slower because we have to train 2 skills to deal damage. If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe with notifications on, drop a fat like, and consider becoming a channel member with the join button below for tons of benefits on the channel, including instant access to our Discord. These are all the quests that provide attack, strength, and the defense experience as of the time of making this video. Remember that some of them have a respective level requirement, and you may not be able to do them right away. Unlike ranged, we have a ton of early game quests that will rapidly accelerate the first couple of levels. This would be one of the few instances where I would say that if you want to start fresh, these are almost mandatory to skip on hours of boring gameplay by killing cows with an iron scimitar. In terms of questing, we have something new for melee training. Oddly enough, there's not a single quest requirement that will severely hinder your gains or use of any high-level weapon. However, if you want access to one of the popular training methods in the form of the Nightmare Zone, I recommend completion of at least 5 of the following quests. Most of them are pretty easy and accessible to early and mid-game players, but the easiest to complete to start the activity would be the Ascent of Archaeus, the Depths of Despair, the Fight Arena, Mountain Daughter, and the Vampire Slayer. All of these will spawn monsters that can only attack you with melee, so praying against it will protect you from all incoming damage. You may do this to grind initial points for your overloads and absorption potions, or keep those indefinitely for whatever goal you are looking for. Again, just like the ranged guide, most of our useful items for melee training are weapons and armor. We'll go over all of these in more detail coming up, and they don't really get too expensive until the end game. An absolute must for your combat training are potions. You should always bring either super attack and super strength potions to your Slayer trips, or even super combat potions to boost all of your melee stats. Remember that higher levels means higher damage, and higher damage means more experience. When it comes to plugins, we are in a little bit of a pickle once again, as we don't have any plugins for melee training in specific. What I would recommend is watching my most recent plugins video to see all of the helpful tools Runelite provides, so you can maximize your PvM trips with tons of visual aid on your screen. If you know of any melee training specific plugins, make sure to leave them in a comment below. Now, I'm going to paraphrase what I said in the ranged guide as to how this video will be structured, because we can apply quite literally the same tips. If you don't like it, leave an angry comment down below. Okay, I'm joking, please, I'm joking. Here we go. This guide is going to work as follows. First, we will go through a few quests in order, and then I'll show you what levels you will have at the very end, assuming of course you started on a fresh account. Second, I'll give you a general path of what weapons to use as we are leveling up. Third, I'll give you a small updated melee gear progression guide, since only a few things have changed since the chunky gear progression video. And finally, we will talk about alternative training methods you can try at any level, granted you are able to use the items required. Just like I say in many of my videos and live streams, I always recommend increasing combat levels, which includes attack, strength, and defense, through the Slayer skill. This might be a little more tedious because you have to switch monsters after every task, but if you are going to be killing creatures for melee experience, well, might as well double dip and gain Slayer experience as well. Compared to ranged, melee weapons are a little slower on average, but you'll be able to hit harder, which naturally leads to bigger experience drops later down the road. Think of it as ranged being faster but small hits, and melee being slower but big hits. This doesn't always mean that you should use slow weapons, and that is exactly what we are going to look in a few minutes. The final thing to point out is how attack, strength, and defense all work. By leveling up attack, you'll be able to wear higher tier weapons, and you are going to increase your accuracy depending on which monsters you are fighting. Strength will basically take care of your max hit, and remember that the higher the number, the higher the experience drop. And it's also a requirement for some weapons. Finally, defense will allow you to equip higher tier armor, and both of these things will determine how often you get hit, as your opponent's max hit is also dictated by their attack and strength levels. So now that we know the basics of melee, let's begin. Okay boys and girls, get that Quest Helper plugin and the Slayer Musics channel ready, because we are going to embark on a few adventures that, oddly enough, don't require almost any melee combat, and you'll be able to just fire strike your way through. By doing the Witch's House, you'll gain 6,525 HP experience. This is the only quest we'll do for hit points, as it's more than enough to survive some of the upcoming hurdles because of a ton of convenient save spots. You are then going to do the free-to-play quest The Vampire Slayer, that gives us 4,825 attack experience. It would then be a good idea to do the Waterfall quest next, because of your increased vitality will help us survive the journey, which will grant 13,750 experience in both attack and strength. After that, go south of Arty and get started on the Fight Arena. This quest won't take more than 10 minutes, and you'll walk away with a chunky drop of thieving experience, but most importantly a whopping 12,175 attack experience. Head to Camelot and get started on the Holy Grail, for which you will need a few attack and strength levels for the Black Knight Titan. After this quick adventure, you'll gain some prayer experience and a juicy 15,300 experience drop for the defense skill. The final two quests that are beginner friendly are the Tree Gnome Village and the Grant the Tree. They will grant 11,450 and 18,400 attack experience respectively, which may not sound like a lot, but in the early game these numbers are absolutely insane. If you do all of these quests on a fresh account, you'll be at levels 44 attack, 30 strength, 31 defense, 23 HP, and 28 prayer. An extremely humble start to your journey, if you ask me. So, thanks to all of those levels, we are going to start with a humble rune scimitar and adamant armor, and from here on out, I will assume you are going to level up your stats evenly, but you could always take your own path. The very first thing you should do is go to an early game Slayer master like Turiel and Spria to ask for easy Slayer tasks and get to base level 40s to be able to wear rune armor, which will be a staple for a little bit. Our next goal is level 50. Upgrade to Granite Longsword or Granite Hammer depending on what your enemies are weak against. Either Slash or Crush respectively. With level 50 defense, you can also wear Granite Armor, but the price is a little higher than Rune, and quite frankly, you're going to look like an absolute champion. You can do the quest Fremennik Trials to be able to upgrade to a Berserker helmet, and that's it. We are now going to work towards level 60 in attack, strength, and defense. You should do a little intermission to do the quest of Fremennik Isles to obtain one of the most iconic items in the entire game, the Nazi Helm. You can equip this at level 55 defense, and it's going to be a great item to keep until the late game. And speaking of quests, go ahead and take care of Monkey Madness 1, so you can wear the Dragon Scimitar, which is also extremely popular. The last thing to do would be grinding the Fighter Torso for the third best in slotted chest item for melee. I have a great Barbarian Assault video you can check out after this one, so you can get one of the most annoying grinds out of the way rather quickly. It has the same stats as a Bandos Chestplate in terms of offensive capability, so it's always nice to skip on spending around 20 million GP for a chest item. At level 65, we are going to do two more important things. First, upgrade from a Dragon Scimitar to a Sarachnis Cudgel. It is a mace-like weapon dropped by the spider boss Sarachnis. This is statistically better than the Scimitar, even though it looks pretty ugly. And two, we are now going to the Warriors Guild for one of the worst but quickest grinds in the entire game, the Dragon Defender. If you're new to the game, here's a quick explanation. Teleport to Borthorpe and run west towards the Warriors Guild. You will need 130 levels between attack and strength, so having 65 in each will do the trick. Get yourself a set of Mithril or Adamant armor and use them on the machine in the room east of the bank. This will reanimate the armor for you to defeat, and once you're done, it will drop armor pieces along with Warrior Guild tokens. Collect at least 3,000 of these and then go upstairs to the room with the mini Cyclops. Talk to the instructor and go inside. 10 tokens will be taken from you at the entrance and another 10 every minute. Defeat Cyclops until you obtain a Bronze Defender, grab it, go outside and show it to the instructor to unlock the ability to have the Iron Defender as a drop. Continue the cycle until you have a Rune Defender and then go back to the first floor. Head outside through the door on the left and go downstairs. Show your Rune Defender to the instructor in the basement and you'll be able to enter to kill more powerful Cyclops for the Dragon Defender. Once you get it, teleport out, buy a pair of Obsidian Legs and Dragon Boots, and get a new Slayer task to continue training. At level 70 you are going to buy an Abyssal Whip. This is a double-edged sword. The good thing is that it is extremely cheap and will be pretty reliable for a long time. The bad thing is that you can only train attack, defense, or all three skills at the same time. There is no way to train strength on its own. In order to do so, get yourself an Abyssal Dagger, which is slightly more expensive and a little weaker than the whip. But this item is a good option to train strength for your main hand. At level 70 and 75 we have optional choices to make. You may get yourself an Abyssal Bludgeon or a Tentacle Whip. Respectively, the Abyssal Bludgeon is a two-handed weapon typically used to train strength that does not consume any charges, but also requires level 70 strength to use. The Tentacle whip is made by combining an Abyssal whip with a Kraken Tentacle and will degrade after every hit. After 10,000 hits, you will need to feed the Tentacle another whip, and remember that with the Abyssal Tentacle, you cannot train strength alone. And speaking of end game, the final two main weapons for some bossing and casual slayer we are looking at are the Gargoyles Rapier and the Osmumtum's Fang, available at levels 80 and 82 respectively. In my personal opinion, you might as well go for the Fang, since at the time of making this video they hover around the same price, but the Fang will be useful for the Tombs of a Mascot if you decide it's time to go raiding. With both of these, you can train attack, strength, and defense separately, and they are not going to have any drawback like the whip. Now let's take a few moments to talk about niche weapons and the post 99 experience, so you know when the time comes for you to upgrade to a more expensive item. This doesn't include special attacks, and we are instead going to focus on weapons that you will use primarily during an entire fight. The Dragon Hunter lens will be mainly used to, well, kill dragons, and it's recommended if you are going to camp Vorkath or Chambers in the long term. Even after the Hydra Claw has gone down in price a lot, it remains a pricey item. The Blade of Saildor is almost exclusively used by Ironman with a spare enhanced crystal weapon seed. Ever since the update, this item is much better used as a bofa, but if you want to try out a strong slash weapon, this might be a good pick. In terms of Crush, the Inquisitor's Mace has the best attack bonuses in that category. There are very few enemies where the mace will shine, but you can't really go wrong with it if you have full Inquisitor armor against mobs that are weak to Crush. Finally, the Scythe of Vitur will be your best friend at the Theater of Blood, Duxoculus, and a few other notable bosses such as Cerberus. This is a fairly expensive item to use, so make sure to camp it at a spot where you can get your money back. Before we move on to the alternative training methods, let's do a quick recap on the weapon and armor progression from levels 1 to 99 and beyond. You will see notes about jewelry, gloves, and boots on screen. After initial questing, level up a bit more for base 40s to be able to wear full Rune. Berserker Helmet at a level 45 defense, and then buy a Granite Longsword at level 50 attack. Upgrade to a Nezi Helm at level 55, and then to Monkey Madness to be able to wear a Dragon Scimitar at level 60. And it's going to be useful until level 65, when you upgrade to a Saragnus Cudgel. Don't forget your fighter torso beforehand. When you have 65 attack and strength, grind the Dragon Defender and upgrade to Dragon Boots and Obsidian Plate Legs. At this point, you should also have a Fire Cape. Level up to 70 in all 3 skills and swap that Cudgel for an Abyssal Whip or an Abyssal Dagger if you still need a few strength levels. Once they are both at level 70, you could use an Abyssal Bludgeon instead. Optionally, bump that up to a Tentacle Whip at level 75, and your final weapon upgrade would be either a Gargoyles Rapier at level 80 and an Osmumtum's Fang at level 82. You have also seen proper armor upgrades throughout the whole explanation, and the absolute maxed best in slot gear has a Acquire Torva, an Infernal Cape, and a Scythe of Vitur for those raids and bossing trips. Well, that was pretty chunky, so let's close out the video with a few alternative methods just in case you want to break from Slayer, although I highly advise against it. The only reason you should be doing any of these is if you're missing some levels for a new upgrade and you are looking for fast or AFK experience. Just like ranged, you can AFK Rock, Sand, or Ammonite Crabs. You are going to get absolutely nothing for this, and people might even make fun of you, so please do this as an absolute last resort if you want some chill gains. And speaking of chill, I guess you could go to the Nightmare Zone for a little bit of experience after your imbues. This could be an entire segment on the guide, so I will do something better and redirect you to my Nightmare Zone guide from around a year ago, which is still pretty relevant and will take you by the hand when learning this wretched activity. If you are at least the 75 Slayer and want to make money out of your AFK time, Gargoyles will provide decent cash but almost zero effort and attention. You'll still need to watch out for your prayer points, combat potions, and your drops. In a similar fashion, and so this doesn't become another AFK training money-making guide, Vampire Sentinels at Dark Mayor offer moderate loot with chances at the Blood Shard, which you can sell for a few million GP. You have unlimited prayer points and a nearby bank to resupply if needed. The very last method is one that doesn't involve melee combat, but we are taking a page out of the ranged and magic guides, and we're going to the Maniacal Monkey Caves with Chinchompas or Barrages. Now, why is this important? Because if you use the little rats or spells on defense mode, you will gain defense experience with every action. Statistically speaking, this is a much faster way to gain defense experience, so definitely give it a go if you're missing a bit of experience for your next defense level. So Scapers, how do we get to level 99 in attack, strength, and defense in the most enjoyable, fastest, or AFK way possible? Once again, here we have a few options for you to follow along towards those nice and shiny skill capes. Just like ranged, I personally recommend getting to level 99 through Slayer, and maybe a little bit of bossing here and there to start dipping your toes into PDMing. Not something I would do, but it's always an option. For AFK we have Rock, Sand or Ammonite Crabs, the Nightmare Zone, and money-making monsters such as Gargoyles or Firewatch Sentinels. Again, I would much rather train Slayer along the way, but something you can do without a lot of focus. To speedrun this skill, we are going to do Chinning or Barraging for defense experience, and then train on Slayer monsters with low defense for more constant hits and therefore more experience per hour. Attack and strength can't really be speedrun, so just enjoy the journey to 99. Ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for the melee guide. Thank you so much for coming and for making it this far. If you did, make sure to tell me how you would get level 99 attack, strength and defense, or if you already have them. A massive thank you to all the channel members for your continued support, as my wife, my puppy and I are forever grateful for your continued interest in the channel. If you'd like to be part of this list of legends, click the join button below and see all the cool perks you can get in the videos, in the live streams and of course in the Discord. The next 1 to 99 guide is the last one of the series, and I can guarantee it will be a juicy one, as we will see how to achieve mastery in the Slayer skill. Have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.